Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining me as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that sorts of good stuff. It is Friday. Congratulations, guys. You made it to the end of another week, but as is normal on Fridays, I kind of fly solo. I like to give most of the crew the day off on Friday, so it's just you and me talking about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that sorts of good stuff. And listen, guys, if you're here just to listen to somebody say things about movies that you already agree with, you're in the wrong place. My job is not to say things that you agree with, nor is it my job to say things or to give my opinion and make you agree with my opinion. Nope, my job here is to give my opinion in such a way that hopefully it helps you sharpen your own view of your own opinion, whether it's the same or completely opposite from mine, because that's what being film fans is all about. All right, guys, listen, we got a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about here today, and let's not waste any time and dive right into it. We're going to start off with this. The movie Dark Phoenix, X-Men Dark Phoenix, has now hit theaters. And, you know, we've been talking about X-Men Dark Phoenix for a couple of days now for all the worst reasons. You know, I had heard a number of months ago that the film turned out to be a bit of a disaster. I hadn't seen it yet myself at the time. So we talked about that. Then, you know, the movie came out, the initial reviews dropped, not good. Then it became official that it's X-Men Dark Phoenix is the worst rated, critically rated X-Men film of all time, having the absolute lowest Rotten Tomatoes score out of any of the X-Men related films, which is unfortunate. So last night, I took myself over. I'm about a 12-minute walk from the AMC Burbank 16 up the street. So I took a walk over the AMC Burbank last night, sat down to watch X-Men Dark Phoenix, not knowing what to expect. Because, you know, guys, listen, I love the X-Men films. I was really disappointed with X-Men Apocalypse. Obviously, X-Men Origins Wolverine isn't so hot, and X-Men Last Stand isn't so hot. But for the most part, I really do quite enjoy most of the X-Men films. And quite frankly, I said this in a social media post last night. Quite frankly, I think there are a number of X-Men films that are better than most Marvel MCU films. I think Logan, X-Men Days of Future Past, I think those two movies are better than most Marvel MCU films. Not all of them, but most of them. So I went in with hoping it would be great, but fully prepared that this movie could be a complete disaster because of all the things we've been saying. So I sat down and watched it. And honestly, it's not terrible. It's not terrible. It is not the terrible train wreck, in my opinion, that a number of people have made it out to be. Here's how I would sort of break it down. The first act is pretty okay. Honestly, the way they set up the world in which this X-Men movie takes place, and again, there are a number of major continuity issues with this movie compared to the other X-Men movies, but again, that's Fox, continuity, schmontinuity, they don't really care. So I don't care either. But the first act is actually not bad. It doesn't jump off the screen and grab you by the throat like some other films do. It doesn't, you know, warrant your attention right away. It's not a great first act. But it sets up the film pretty well. It sets it up pretty well. The second act of the film is absolutely atrocious. The second act, the middle body of the movie is absolutely atrocious. And you could just tell, oh my God, this is being made by a first-time director. Because he's having things happen and he's having lines being said certain ways that are just, oh my God, you can tell this is a first-time director. And this was the first time Simon Kinberg had ever directed anything. And you guys know how I feel about somebody making their first directorial effort on a big major blockbuster film with a huge budget, stuff like that. It's not a good idea. And the second act of this film is really rather terrible. And I'm getting the feeling, understandably so, that a lot of the people who did not like or who hated this film probably established that feeling somewhere in the second act, because the second act really is quite bad. It drags. Most of the cringy scenes are in the second act of the film. A lot of questionable decisions made in the second act of the film. Some character choices they make are done during that second act of the film, and it is really quite bad. But I gotta say, as we got into the third act of the film, and the third act is where, you guys know in the trailers, you see that big train scene with the train coming off the tracks and all that kind of stuff. That happens in the third act of the film. The third act of the film was, quite frankly, much better than I was thinking, because I'm sitting in the movie theater, right? And I'm like, okay, first act was all right. It's all right. First act's okay. Second act is like, oh my God. And I just feel the whole trajectory of the movie, like just the quality of the movie just sinking fast, right? And I'm sitting in my seat going, oh God, this movie's going to end up being terrible, because we get to the end of the second act. And then the third act comes. And I'll tell you what, a lot of the action was quite good. That train scene, which looks kind of laughable in the trailers, was actually pretty good in the movie. I like what they did with Magneto in general and how they treated Magneto and all that kind of stuff. I thought the conclusion or the resolution of the film made some sense. There is a big continuity, not a continuity error, but there's a big logic problem near the end of the film, but I won't go into what that is right now. But overall, I actually thought the third act was pretty solid. If the third act was reflective of the entire movie, I would have come out going, that's a pretty solid movie. X-Men Dark Phoenix is a pretty solid movie. I wouldn't say it was great, but I'd say, yeah, that's a pretty damn solid movie. Unfortunately, the third act is not reflective of the entire movie. The first act is, all right. Second act, totally abysmal. Third act, pretty strong. The action was good. I thought look, honestly, I'm still not quite sure what I think of Sophie Turner as an actress. I love her in Game of Thrones. I did not like her so much in X-Men Apocalypse. Not that there's anything to like much about X-Men Apocalypse. And so I was a little bit nervous about her. Honestly, I thought she was pretty solid. I thought I didn't like all the words she was saying, but that's the script. That's not her. I thought the performance she brought was actually pretty good. At least not bad at all. It was much better than I thought it would be. Now, to me, the weakest link in this chain is Jessica Chastain. Jessica Chastain is the best actor in the entire movie, but it's really more the character. The character was terrible, and the story of that character is terrible, and the background of that story is terrible, and what she represents in the movie is terrible, and it was, to me, it was easily the worst and weakest part of the film. It was not Jessica Chastain's performance, but rather that character at all and what that character represented. Seemed pretty, oh wait, I forgot, we need some kind of villain, quick, throw in something quick. That's kind of how it came across to me, it kind of came across to me on that level. How much of this is Simon Kinberg? Look, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big Simon Kinberg fan. I have been for a long time, and I've had the pleasure of meeting him on a couple of occasions. He's a super nice guy too, but I've always said, a director should not be cutting their teeth with their very first movie on a big blockbuster, big budget film. Now, Simon Kinberg has produced and written some of the best comic book movies out there. He's written and produced some fabulous films. He's also written and produced some bad ones too, but he's written and produced some great ones. But directing is completely different than writing. Directing is completely different than producing. And he should have done something else before trying to do an X-Men movie. Because while I've seen first-time directors do much worse jobs than Simon Kinberg did, you could also tell in many parts, and I don't want to go into specifics or details because I don't want to give a lot of stuff away, you could tell this was a movie that was in the hand of a first-time director who was missing a lot of the nuance, who was missing a lot of the, let's just say, a lot of the atmosphere setting that he did. He had some cool ideas because he's Simon Kinberg. But I think this is a movie that would have been better served in the hands of a more experienced director, or it could have done better if they put the movie off a little bit, let Simon Kinberg go on to direct a smaller indie project kind of film first, then maybe this could have worked out a little bit better. But listen, overall, I'm not going to sit here and say, Dark Phoenix is the next Days of Future Past. It's not. It's not. It's not a great movie. I even hesitate to say it's a good movie. It's probably not. But it's not a train wreck. It's not this awful pile of garbage that a lot of us have been fearing that it would be. There are multiple terrible things, but there are also multiple redeeming qualities about the film. To the point where, as somebody who is an X-Men fan and a fan of these movies, I walked out of the movie going, well, I'm glad I saw it. And I think if you're somebody who really likes the X-Men universe and you like these X-Men films, I think a lot of you will also walk out of the theater not jumping for joy, but at least walking out of the theater going, well, I'm glad I saw it. Again, lots of terrible stuff. I can't blame anybody who doesn't like this film. I can't blame anybody who doesn't like it. But again, to me, there was enough redeeming qualities in the film. I thought the acting was quite good. The action scenes were actually really quite well done. The effects were actually way better than I thought they would be. And the establishment of the world that this particular movie takes in was quite creative. So, great? No. Good? Maybe not. But a dumpster fire? Completely devoid of any value? No, I wouldn't say that either. This is a middle-of-the-road kind of X-Men film, which is still unfortunate for them to end this iconic series with, but still not the car crash I was sort of expecting. But listen, guys, I do want to go into more details on this, so what I'm going to do is Sunday afternoon, we are going to do I wasn't planning on doing this, but after I saw this movie, I thought, there's a lot of points of this film I want to discuss openly. So Sunday afternoon, we are going to do a X-Men Dark Phoenix open spoiler discussion. So if you've seen the movie and you're dying to talk about it, let's do a spoiler discussion on Sunday afternoon. So keep your eyes open for that. So what did you guys think of X-Men Dark Phoenix? Did some of you guys have a chance to see it? If so, jump down to the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, with that down and out of the way, let's move on to the next main topic. You know, in the realm of video game movies, one of the movies that a lot of people have really been looking forward to is the possibility of Uncharted. Uncharted is a movie that a lot of people have been talking about wanting. It's very cinematic in nature. It's almost made like a movie instead of a video game, and a lot of people say a lot of their favorite video games are. They're not. But this is one of them. This is one of them that really is made more like a movie than it is a video game. Now, almost 2 years ago, we found out that Tom Holland had been cast to play Nathan Drake, which had a lot of people scratching their heads. I mean, we like Tom Holland, but isn't that a little young for Nathan Drake? But whatever. But everything has been dead quiet on the Uncharted front ever since, causing a lot of people to wonder if this movie's even still happening. Well, it is still happening, and as a matter of fact, it's now more concrete than ever, as Sony has announced that Uncharted is hitting theaters not in 2 years, but next December. December 2020 is when it is coming. This report comes to us from our friends over at Joe Blow. They wrote, Holland's casting was announced 2 years ago, which came off previous actors and directors like Mark Wahlberg and Neil Berger coming aboard and then leaving the project. Now, things seem to be righted with Holland cast as treasure hunter Nathan Drake in his younger years, and with 10 Cloverfield Lane director Dan Trachtenberg signing on after Sean Levy exited earlier this year. So, they have confirmed a couple things. Number one, that yes, indeed, it is going to be Tom Holland. He's locked in. He's going to be it. And now they've got the release date, and it's just like a year and a half away. It's not even like 3 years away. It's next December, which is kind of crazy. Now, it's going to be opening on December 18th, and that's the release date, is December 18th, 2020. Already opening on that date are a Coming to America sequel. The Eddie Murphy Coming to America sequel is set for that date. And there's one other high-profile film that I'm forgetting off the top of my head that opens on that date that whatever. I can't remember it right now, and that's okay. Whatever. So anyway, it's done. It's done. Now, before I go any further in giving my opinions on this, I want to ask you guys, we're going to make this the topic of today's question of the day. And our question of the day is simply this. Now that it's official and the Uncharted movie is coming next December, how are you feeling now about the casting of Tom Holland? I want you to go to my Twitter right now, which is simply right there, at John Campea. You can see the address there. It's the top post, and register your vote on how you're feeling about it. Now, one of the things I want to say about Tom Holland's casting, did I find it an odd choice at the time? Yes, but you got to keep something in mind here. Tom Holland is not Peter Parker. Tom Holland is not a high school kid. Tom Holland is 23 years old. Hell, he's not even college age. He's out of college. You know, he's of the age that he's done college. He ain't some I know we look at Tom Holland because he plays Peter Parker, and we think of him as that age. We think of him as a high school student, but the reality is he's a 23-year-old man. Is that still on the younger side for Nathan Drake? Yes, but they told us a long time ago they wanted to go to a little bit younger. And the advantage of that, of course, The advantage, of course, is that at this age, at just 23, if this franchise is successful, and granted, that's a big if, but if this franchise is successful, you're talking about a guy who can play this role for 10, 15 years. Hell, he could play this role as long as Hugh Jackman played Wolverine, because he's just at that age that he could do it. Now, of course, nobody's saying they're going to make 8 Uncharted movies, but it's kind of nice if you, as a film company, as a production company, if you give yourself a little bit of that flexibility. So why not cast a guy like Tom Holland? He's a very popular name right now. He's a very good little actor. At the age of 23, he's young enough that you can play a young version of Drake, but also he can be around for a long time to play it as. And by the way, the kid's built. The kid's got he's got a Nathan Drake kind of physique. So listen, I'll tell you what, I'm all for it. Personally, I'm all for it. I think this is exciting. I watched the cutscene, like the 16-hour cutscene movie of Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, and I thought it was fantastic. So I'm all down for seeing these types of adventures. I'm all for Tom Holland playing the role. But what do you guys think? It's now official. It's coming next December. Do you like the idea of them making this movie? How do you feel about Tom Holland's casting? Jump down in the comments section below and let me know what you guys are thinking. All right. With that down and out of the way, let's now move on to our main topics of the day. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's simple. You guys come up with the main topics by going to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you get there, fill out the form with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's move on to the first main topic today. And the first main topic today comes to us from Deegan James, who writes, "Hey, John, the entertainment gods have heard your prayers, and yea, they have answered. Lucifer has officially been given the green light for season 5. However, there's bad news too. Guess it's officially going to be the last season. So, are you happy or sad?" All right, thanks a lot for the message, Deegan. And you guys know, if you've been watching my show, watching my videos, whatever, for any period of time, you guys know I love Lucifer. I love that show. Love that show. Tom Ellis playing Lucifer Morningstar is probably my favorite character on television. I love this show to no end. I was heartbroken when Fox canceled it. I was overwhelmed with joy when Netflix picked it up for season 4. I loved season 4, and I've been waiting very anxiously to find out if they were actually going to greenlight season 5 or not. Well, it's done. Season 5's been greenlit, and we are getting Lucifer season 5. Again, as Deegan pointed out in the message, the downside is, of course, they've also confirmed that it's going to be the final season. Now, on the one hand, with Lucifer's Murder Mystery of the Week format, I kind of feel like Lucifer could go another 5 seasons. You know, it's a little mixture of a procedural and a serial. I mean, it's a little bit ongoing story and a little bit Murder Mystery of the Week. But with that Murder Mystery of the Week element to it, again, I don't see why there should be any limit to how far you go with the show and how long you go with the show. So that's one hand. And obviously, because I'm a fan, I want to see it go for another 20 years. I'm a little biased. On the other hand, when you step back from the Murder Mystery of the Week element and you look at the overarching story, by the time you get to end of season 4, you realize how much more is there to do. Even I got to admit, how much more of this story can you tell? It feels like by the end of season 4, it felt like we were heading into the final lap. It felt like we were heading into the final stretch of this story. And you know what? As far as them canceling it after season 5, I'm okay. I'm okay. Because I cannot feel anything but overwhelming gratitude to the people at Netflix for, number one, saving Lucifer and bringing it back for season 4, but they're also giving it another season for season 5. Lucifer is going to be running 5 seasons. Daredevil didn't get 5 seasons. Punisher didn't get 5 seasons. Hell, Stranger Things isn't going to get 5 seasons. I'm getting 5 seasons of Lucifer. I guess I don't have any right to complain when there's a lot of other people out there whose favorite shows are getting axed after 1. Hell, Swamp Thing just got canceled after 1 episode. Swamp Thing got canceled after one episode. So as a fan, I better count my blessings and be really happy about this. By the way, if you haven't watched Lucifer and you don't know who these people, that's Lucifer there. And the girl with them is one of my other favorite characters on television. It is the torture demon Mazikeen, who is Lucifer's right-hand demon and his main torturer in hell. She came to Earth with Lucifer on his vacation. And she is just one of the best characters on TV, man. I could sit here and geek out about Lucifer the entire show. I could sit here and use the entire run of the show to sit here and just geek out about Lucifer. I love this show so much. Anyway, super thrilled that it's getting a season 5. Little bummed that it's going to be the last. But all in all, I think as a fan, I'm still really grateful to Netflix for letting us have this many seasons. And now they get to wrap up the story the way they want to do it, which is awesome. What do you guys think about Lucifer? Jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, let's move on to the next main topic today. And the next main topic today comes to us from Mark Wallace, who writes, after the massive critical bombing that Dark Phoenix has experienced, would the studio behind 355 really be dumb enough to let Simon Kinberg direct this film instead of finding an actual talented director? All right, thanks. A little harsh, Mark, but understandable. You know, we were just talking a few minutes ago about X-Men Dark Phoenix and the critical reception that it's got. It's not going to have a great opening weekend. This is probably going to be one of the lowest, if not the lowest opening weekend for an X-Men film ever. I'm guessing probably around 35 million, maybe 35 to 40 million is my guess. And hopefully it's much higher than that, but I mean, it could. And we talked a lot about Simon Kinberg making that his first directorial effort. We've also been talking in recent days about this movie 355, which quite frankly, I'm really excited about. It's being spearheaded by Jessica Chastain. Now, this was an early cast picture. You see Marion Cotillard is in this picture. She's not in the film. I believe she's been replaced by Diane Kruger. But still, you've got Penelope Cruz, Jessica Chastain, Bing Fang, who was also, by the way, speaking of X-Men, Bing Fang was in X-Men Days of Future Past as Blink. She was Blink in that. And of course, my future ex-wife, Lupita Nyong'o. One of the most... I get tongue-tied just looking at a picture of it's so ridiculous how beautiful she is. Like, it's just ridiculous. I just get frozen for a second every time I see a picture of her. Anyway, we've been talking about this 355 movie for a while. It's a movie they're putting together where it's about a bunch of female super spies from different countries who've got to learn to work together and get over their distrust of one another because of a larger threat. So I don't know what that is, obviously, but it's a fabulous sounding thing. And interestingly enough, Simon Kinberg is attached to direct it. So that brings up the question. Now that they've seen what has happened with X-Men Days of Future Past, it's going to have a rough opening weekend. It is the lowest critically rated of all the X-Men films, even though I thought it deserved better. I don't think it should. I think X-Men Dark Phoenix is definitely better than X-Men Wolverine. I think it's definitely better than X-Men Apocalypse. I think it's better than X-Men The Last Stand. So it's not the worst X-Men film, but bottom line is really bad critical ratings and probably not going to do well financially. These are the sorts of things that studios do not look nicely upon when considering directors to bring on board for their own big projects, right? I think there's a couple of different ways to look at that, though. One of the ways to look at that, though, with 355 is the whole notion that, you know, on the one hand, you can say, okay, he blew it, you could say. If you wanted to be really harsh about it, you can say, Kinberg blew it. We don't want to let him anywhere near our 355 movie. However, if you want to be an optimist, I would propose to you there is another way to look at it. And that way of looking at it is this, and there's 2 points I want to make here. The first one, which is not terribly as important, but Jessica Chastain is the one kind of spearheading this 355 movie, and she obviously worked with Simon Kinberg on X-Men Dark Phoenix, and she thinks he's got it. So there's that. But more importantly is this. Simon Kinberg is clearly a guy who is good at the film business. Again, like I said, he has written and produced some marvelous films. He understands decent filmmaking. He's just never been a director before. He has never directed anything before Dark Phoenix. So I would want to say is, you know, He just had a crash course in directing. He just did a big blockbuster film, and maybe it didn't work out the way we had all hoped, but he's got that under his belt now. You could almost make the argument that he just had a $150 million education, right? Now, obviously, the best thing is to go, oh, he made his first film and it was an Oscar contender. Sure, that's the best thing to say. But, you know, even the best minor league prospects coming up and the highest touted prospects coming up into the major leagues, they'll strike out their first couple of times at bat. You could make the argument he just had a harsh education. I remember there's this one great story that people used to tell me, and it goes like this. There was an executive at IBM who had like a junior vice president, and this junior vice president made a mistake that cost the company almost $80 million, right? So this executive calls this junior vice president into his office, and they go over the situation, and then the executive says, okay, well, let's just make sure that doesn't happen again. And the junior vice president says to him, you're not firing me? And the executive says, fire you? Kid, I just spent $80 million on your education. I can't afford to fire you. Which I think there's some real golden nuggets of wisdom in that sort of mentality. You know, it's not like Simon Kinberg has made 5 films and they've all trashed. It's not like he's made 5 films and they've all been critically disappointing. It's not like he's made 5 films and they've all had box office disappointments. This is a guy who's got a reputation in this business. He just did his first one. It was a bad one for him to do as his first one, but he did his first one. Now he's got one under his belt. It's probably, I would be okay. You know, if I'm the studio executive and Jessica Chastain still wants to use him, I'd be, you know what? Hopefully he learned a lot from that first experience. Let's roll the dice and let him do a second one now. So I think he will end up directing 355. I think he will. He might not. They might get cold feet and pull the plug on it. I don't know. But I think they will, and I think he deserves a chance. So, because again, I don't think X-Men Dark Phoenix was a complete disaster. He made a lot of mistakes. Hopefully he's learned from his mistakes. It was his first time out. Now let's see what he can do that he's got a little bit of experience under his belt. But what do you guys think? If you're a studio executive right now, do you go, yeah, let's stick with Simon Kinberg to direct 355, or do you pull the plug on it? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know what you think. All right, let's move on now to the final main topic today. And the final main topic today comes to us from Simply Mo. Hey, John and company. I saw Variety and other news sources point out that Warner Brothers' new streaming service will reportedly cost around $16 to $17 a month for HBO, Cinemax, and Warner Brothers content. To me, that's ridiculous. Netflix nor will Disney Plus cost that much. I don't think it would appeal to many cord cutters or cord nevers in general. Your thoughts? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And as Mo is pointing out, we've known for a while that like Amazon has their own streaming service, Universal has their own coming, Apple has their own coming, Disney has their own coming. We've already got Netflix, we've got Hulu, we've got several others. Warner Brothers is launching their own streaming service soon. We've known about that for a while. I personally think they're going to shut down their DC streaming service and kind of absorb it into the larger Warner Brothers streaming service, which is probably a pretty good idea in my opinion, but we'll get to that later. So what would they do? What's the pricing on this going to be? You got Netflix that's like 12 or 13 bucks a month. You got Disney that's going to come out at $7 a month. Is Warner Brothers coming out with their service at $16 or $17 a month? Would that be considered too much? Is that too expensive for a service like this? I'm going to actually disagree with you, Mo, and I'm going to say no. Because there's a couple things to keep in mind here. You're getting what you pay for, right? With Disney Plus, they're launching with Mandalorian, great. They're launching with one show. Now they'll have a bunch of their movies and stuff, but even then, the library is not going to be super exhaustive or super extensive. It's going to be a good library, but it's not going to have all the variety and all the options in the world on it when they launch at $7 a month. You're getting what you pay for. And by the way, there's no way I think that price stays at $7 a month after a year or two. They're gonna jump that price up. I would argue, though, that with a bundled deal of Warner Brothers exhaustive film and television content. Exhaustive. HBO and Cinemax? Guys, keep this into perspective here. HBO Go, which I subscribe to, HBO Go by itself costs $15 a month. HBO Go by itself costs about $15 a month. And I think it's worth every damn penny. HBO are simply the best original content creators out there in the streaming space, at any rate, at least for now. I think HBO Go is... So you're talking about taking now all of that HBO content and Cinemax and the Warner Brothers library and whatever original content they start creating for that thing at the same time, and they're only increasing that price by $1 or $2? I gotta tell you, I think that sounds like one hell of a deal. I mean, and look, again, let's put aside Warner Brothers and put aside Cinemax for a second. Let's just talk about HBO. You're talking about some of the greatest television shows. This is just some. I just sat down this morning, ripped off a list off the top of my head. I'm sure there's several really great ones I don't even have on this list. These are ones that just came off the top of my head. HBO originals that you're going to be able to get. Game of Thrones, The Wire. Some people think that's the greatest show of all time. The Sopranos. Some people think that's the greatest show of all time. Veep, which a lot of people think is one of the greatest shows of all time. It's won so many awards. Curb Your Enthusiasm, Westworld, Deadwood, True Detective, Boardwalk Empire. God, I love Boardwalk Empire. Big Little Lies, Silicon Valley, Oz. I miss Oz. Entourage, True Blood, Barry, Rome, Eastbound and Down, Band of Brothers. On and on and on and on. That's just the HBO part. That's not even taking into consideration all the stuff they're going to make moving forward. And by the way, that doesn't even count. We're not even talking about Chernobyl, which might be one of the best things they've ever done. And we've got a number of big shows coming from them that we're all really excited about. And that's just a little taste. And that, folks, doesn't even count Cinemax and doesn't even count Warner Brothers. $16, $17 a month? Yeah, because I'll tell you what, yes, Disney Plus is launching at $7, but you're getting a hell of a lot more. You're getting a hell of a lot more right off the bat with whatever this Warner Brothers streaming service is going to be. And by the way, if I'm right, and I don't know that I'm right, but if I'm right, and they absorb in the DC streaming service into that as well, well, now you're getting Doom Patrol, which I think is awesome. Now you'll get the one season of Swamp Thing. If you like Titans, which I don't really like Titans all that much, but some of you guys do, you'll get Titans, plus all the other content that's on the DC streaming service as well. Look, I really do think that would be a good deal. And they're saying, by the way, that they might even do a second version of that streaming service that will have some ads and cost a lot less. So, I mean, so if you don't want to spend that much, you don't mind a few commercials, you'll probably get an even better deal. But I got to say, guys, for me, when you consider the sheer volume of content you're getting, the quality of content you're getting, that is spread across several brands, HBO, Cinemax, Warner Brothers, probably DC, I got to say, $16, $17 a month, considering I'm paying $15 a month for HBO Go right now by itself, I got to say, to me, it sounds like a pretty good deal. But I know, maybe you guys feel differently. Like, I know all of us as fans, we want everything for free. Everything should cost $1. I get it. We all want everything for as cheap as possible. I understand. But honestly, I think $16, $17 a month, less than the cost of one movie, I got to say, I think that would be pretty good. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys. With all that stuff down and out of the way, let's now move on and take some live questions. You guys have been firing in live questions since we launched the live event right now, so let's not waste any more time and jump on over and get right to it. And we're going to start live questions today with Blu-ray Billy, who writes, opening weekend prediction for Dark Phoenix, I'm going to peg it around 35 to 40. 35 to 40 is where I'm going to peg it around. Although I got to say, the theater I was in last night was almost packed. I think there was like just a couple of empty seats for the most part, and it was a pretty big theater. It was almost packed, but still, I'm in LA. That's going to happen. I'm going to guess somewhere between 35 and 40. Media Fanatic writes, what were your problems with Sons of Anarchy finale? I loved it. Well, obviously, I don't have time to go into a full analysis. I just felt it was very piecemealed, you know? It just kind of felt, let's do this. Now let's have this happen. Now let's have, it was just disjointed and weird. Now listen, what happens, I think is the only way that show could end. You know how it ends. I thought that was the only way this show could end. I kind of felt like that in the previous season. I felt like this show only ends one way. And they did end it that way, and that's good. But I just didn't think it was a good episode, that's all. Jersey Kid writes, do you think they canceled Swamp Thing because the studio has plans for him similar to Harley Quinn on Gotham, Justice League, Dark perhaps? No, that had nothing to do with it. There was a few stories going around that one of the contributing factors was finances. They thought they were getting like a $40 million tax credit from the state, and it only ended up being $13 million, and that hurts. That's a lot of money, guys. It's a lot of money. So I'm sure that was a contributing factor as well, but I don't think that's the be-all, end-all of it. But no, I don't think it has anything to do with that other stuff, Jersey, to be honest. You know what? I still haven't watched the first episode of Swamp Thing, and now I don't know that I want to. It's weird. I'm not saying I'm right to feel this way, but it's like as soon as I found out they canceled after one season, I just was like, oh. Well, suddenly all my enthusiasm to watch it has kind of disappeared. I don't like that that's happened. I don't think it's right that that happened, but I kind of lost my enthusiasm to watch it, which is too bad because I'm hearing it's actually pretty good. KW Garrett writes, binged Chernobyl last night. It's fantastic, but episode 4, oh my God, with the dogs. Episode 4 with the hunting. That episode rules out me recommending to my animal loving friends, but hashtag cry time. Damn right. But you know what? I'm an animal lover, particularly a dog lover. And that episode did not rule this show out for me. That was the most heart-wrenching, heartbreaking, devastating episode to me. But that's a good thing. It just really deepened the experience with the show. So I would say even to your animal-loving friends, you can recommend it because it's just that kind of show, you know? Oh my God. It's just, if you guys haven't got on Chernobyl yet, you guys got to get on Chernobyl. All right. Curtis Lopez writes, Dark Phoenix wasn't great, but certainly wasn't that bad either. The weakest parts had to be with Jessica Chastain character. I completely agree. And the heavy dialogue scenes were drawn out. And you know what? They were. And that's again a sign of a first-time director, I think. But the performances, especially from Sophie Turner, were really good. I 100% agree with just about everything you said, Curtis. I thought Sophie Turner was better than I was expecting her. The Jessica Chastain character was a highlight weakness of the film for me. But also, you're right about there are scenes of dialogue that get dragged out too much. And I think, again, that shows us two things. Number one, that's kind of an earmark of a first-time director who doesn't yet have a feel for that sort of thing. But also, number two, Simon Kinberg's a writer. So he's like, no, all this these glorious words that I wrote, they've all got to be on screen, I guess. But probably that's how all writers feel. But again, I thought it was another hallmark of a first-time director. And yeah, I'm with you on that, Curtis. Totally with you on that, dude. All right, Hector Jeter writes, John, because of you, I tried the Haagen-Dazs chocolate peanut butter ice cream. I'm not going to lie, it's getting a little stiff. Anyway, John, because of you, I tried the Haagen-Dazs chocolate peanut butter ice cream, and it's amazing, pure orgasmic. Dude, I'll tell you what, it is. You know, I'm an ice cream fanatic, which I'm sure you couldn't tell. I'm an ice cream fanatic. It is my vice. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. My vice is ice cream. I am an ice cream fanatic. And every few years, my current favorite changes. You know, sometimes it's straight good vanilla bean, vanilla ice cream can be my favorite. Then a good cookies and cream will be my favorite. But the last year or so, my favorite, because I discovered the Haagen-Dazs chocolate peanut butter. Haagen-Dazs chocolate peanut butter is, as Hector just described it, it is orgasmic. And just thinking about it rushes endorphins through my body. I'm glad you tried it, Hector. It's damn good, isn't it? All right, let's see here. Daryl Gain writes, what a sweetheart. Ash will be missed. Yes. So we announced yesterday, you know, I had been warning you guys probably for 3 or 4 months that, you know, Ashley was getting more and more busy, which is awesome with her, commercial work and acting on auditions and things like that. She's supremely talented. And I've been warning you guys for a while. I said, you know, I don't know how long we're going to be able to have Ashley around. So enjoy her while she's around. But anyway, for those of you who missed yesterday's show, Ashley announced that yesterday was her final show. I'm sure she'll pop on now and again. She will pop. Don't worry, guys. She will pop on now and again. But yesterday was officially her last official show. It's just the schedules have been getting too hard to work. You guys probably noticed that she was only on like 1 or 2 shows of the past 9 or something like that. Part of that because she was traveling, part of that because she was doing commercial work and stuff like that. But anyway, I highly encourage all you guys, continue to follow her on her social media, all that kind of stuff. Continue to support her, and you'll see her again. You will see her pop up. We might even get her to come out to Comic-Con with us. But anyway, okay. Curtis Lopez writes, I hope in Lucifer season 5 we get more Maze and Eve. Love them together, dude. I loved that. I love that. First of all, Maze is one of my favorite characters. Mazikeen, the demon I was talking about earlier. Mazikeen is one of my favorites. And in season 4, they introduced Eve. Yes, the Eve. They introduced her, who is this wild, amazing character that I thought I wasn't. When I saw the trailers for Lucifer season 4, I didn't think I was going to like that Eve character. But then I saw her in the show and I loved her. I think she might have become Anne's favorite character in the show. Anyway, Mazikeen and Eve become a couple in season 4. Or I shouldn't say that. They develop a relationship. And I loved it. I ate it up. I am completely with you. I hope they revisit that in season 5 because it was awesome. Hector Jeter writes, Airplane is my #1 favorite comedy. It's so good, dude. And don't call me Shirley. Did you know it has a post-credit scene? It does. I think I remembered that. Okay. Did you know it has a post-credit scene? The passenger is still in the taxi waiting on Ted Stryker to come. I think I remember that. Although I gotta admit, it's been a little while since I've watched Airplane. I watched it again a few years ago. I don't think I watched the post, but I think I forgot about the post-credit scene. Excellent observation. Guys, if you have not watched one of the best, certainly beyond doubt, the best spoof comedy of all time, the first Airplane movie, watch it. Take Hector's advice, watch Airplane. You'll be so glad it holds up. You could never make that movie today, but I believe it completely holds up. All right. Let's move on here. Michael F. and Sotelo writes, maybe it's me, but Dark Phoenix wasn't as bad as I expected. I see what you did there. Yeah. You guys know I have been saying for a long time I did not have high hopes. I was hearing terrible things about it. I was keeping my fingers crossed, and then the reviews came out and all that kind of stuff, and I got to tell you, it is not the worst X-Men movie. I mean, it's all subjective. If you saw and thought it was the worst one, more power to you. Nothing wrong with that. But I watched it. I'm like, this isn't that bad. It's certainly better than Apocalypse. It's certainly better than X-Men Origins Wolverine. I thought it was better than The Last Stand. It's not in the same league, obviously, as a Logan or a Deadpool or Days of Future Past or First Class or X-Men 2 or anything like that. But yeah, I'm with you, Michael. I really didn't think it was that bad. I'm not going to get on my show and everybody, you need to go see X-Men Dark Phoenix. I ain't doing that. There's a lot of horrible in this movie. There is, but a lot of redeeming stuff too. So yeah, not terrible. That's my best recommendation for X-Men Dark Phoenix. You know what? Not terrible. And that's as good as I can go. All right, Curtis Lopez writes, also, do you think they will pick up on that little thing going on with Detective Douche, Dan, and Ella Lopez? I don't think so, actually. I thought they sort of introduced that, which felt weird and forced in the show, but then you understand the emotional extremes they were both in, and then they kind of resolve that. So I don't think they will, and I hope they don't, because it didn't feel good to me. JB Bonifacio writes, would you tell us if you were Roger? You would tell us if you were Roger. Oh, that thing. Yeah, yes. I would probably take credit for it if it was me, but it's not. I still suspect it might be Robert Meyer Burnett, but I can't prove that. All right, Murray Reich writes, is Dark Phoenix worse or better than Hellboy? Oh, it's better than Hellboy. Yeah. Better than Hellboy. Again, I didn't think Hellboy was a total dumpster fire of a movie either, but it's not good. It's very disappointing. I was hoping for much better from it. But yeah, my personal opinion is that I think Dark Phoenix is better than Hellboy. This new Hellboy, at any rate. All right. Frank writes, fun MCU fact, all 22 films have a character lose an arm or a hand as a nod to Star Wars. Kevin Feige is a huge fan of The Empire Strikes. Well, I know that. Thanos was his latest victim. Really? I'll be honest with you. If that's true, and I have no reason to doubt you, if that's true, I haven't noticed it. I mean, obviously, Sam, or not Sam, but Bucky's lost an arm a couple times. Thanos did the one time. I would have to go back over, like, Iron Man. I can't think of one from Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3 or Ant-Man and the Wasp, but maybe it just happens really subtly at some points. If that's true, Frank, that's a really interesting little factoid. All right, Marcus Robert Johnson writes, at this point, between all the forms of nostalgia and versions made, who is more popular, Wolverine or Iron Man? Whew. Overall, Wolverine. Right now? Probably Iron Man right now. I would guess overall I would go Wolverine. Right now at this moment, I would probably say Iron Man. The real proof will be, let's get about 3 or 4 years removed from Tony Stark, or from Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark and from Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And let's ask the question then and see how it all turns out. But I mean, the bottom line is this. We have had 2 Hallmark staples in the comic book genre, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, who have both now hung it up right around the same time, generally speaking, around the same time. And it's really a shame. It's really a shame. However, I totally 100% know that Robert Downey Jr. will be back. He'll be back. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Maybe not this year, probably not even next year, maybe not even in the next 3 years. But Robert Downey Jr. will be back. You mark my words, he'll be back. All right, Adam Douglas writes, is Gareth Edwards, tell me about it, is Gareth Edwards in director's jail? It's been 2.5 years since Rogue One and no sight of a new project. Seems like a long time for someone with his talent. Yeah, I mean, look, so Edwards did Godzilla, which not a lot of people love. He did that 2014 Godzilla, but then he did Rogue One, which a lot of people like. However, we all also know that there was a lot of behind the scenes drama on that. They made a lot of changes to that were outside the normal flow of just regular reshoots. And there was some drama going on there. Now, they've done a really good job of keeping a lid on most of the drama, but I don't think it's a coincidence that coming out of a disappointing Godzilla and then Rogue One, that I thought the final product of Rogue One is fantastic. I love that movie. But drama in that, I don't think the two facts of him not having any upcoming projects and all that other stuff, I don't think those are disassociated. I do think there's a connection there. I don't know. I'm just speculating like everybody else. I'm not claiming to have any insider information here by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, man, you would have expected to see something new. I expect we will see something from him soon enough, but yeah, it does kind of feel like he might be a little bit in director's jail right now. All right, Austin Church writes, thoughts on Whose Line Is It Anyway? Colin Mouchry, what a Canadian. I did not watch a lot of Whose Line Is It Anyway? And I'm not sure why, because when I watched it, I always laughed. I always find it funny. Now, I don't know that if Colin Mouchry is the bald guy, he is really funny. But everybody on that show is funny. I found it, but I never watched it with any regularity. I probably saw 3-4 episodes, and I don't know why I didn't watch more, because every time I watched it, I thought it was a funny show. Marcus Robert Johnson writes, would you rather be one of the Ninja Turtles and have to fight Batman as a team, or be one of the Avengers and fight the main X-Men, Cyclops, Wolverine, Beast, Nightcrawler, Rogue, Jean Grey? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why anybody would want to be a mutated animal, so I probably wouldn't want to be. So just on the basis that I would rather be an Avenger than a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, just based on that, I will go with that. I will go with being an Avenger, because I don't want to be a mutated, lizard creature. I wouldn't want to be one of those for all the money in the world. So I'm going to go with being an Avenger. All right, MZod780 writes, it is a sad day, John. Netflix announced that season 5 for Lucifer will be the final season. Again, I mean, sad, but at the same time, I want to put it into perspective. Not that long ago, I thought it got canceled after 3 seasons. That was sad. Now, today, like if you had told me back after I heard Fox had canceled it, if you had told me, hey, John, in about a year and a half, you're going to find out that Lucifer gets picked up by Netflix, given 2 more seasons, and they're going to be able to wrap up the show properly. Would I have taken that? Hell yes, I would take it. Hell yes, I would take it. I am bummed that it's going to be coming to an end. But listen, before yesterday, I didn't even know if Lucifer was going to get a season 5. So I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll cry about it later when season 5 ends. That's when I'll cry about it. For now, I just choose as a fan to be grateful to Netflix for bringing it back for season 4, greenlighting a season 5, letting them end the show the way they want to end it. I'll take it because for a long time, I thought all we were going to get is 3 seasons. Jesse Lopez writes, thank you for answering my super chat question last week. It's my pleasure, Jesse. About fans speculating New Mutants is in the MCU. Yeah, that's just not going to happen. Sorry for the incomplete sentences. No problem, man. Yeah, so a question came in last week about there are some fans speculating that the reason that New Mutants got pushed off was so they could rework it so it could be in the MCU. No. Kevin's not bringing any film into his MCU that he didn't have his hands on and developing it and creating it and all that kind of stuff. No way. Because to suggest that the reason they pushed it was for that doesn't explain the reason it was pushed 3 times already. Remember, this movie's been pushed 3 or 4 times. Literally. Like, it's not hyperbole. 3 or 4 times this movie's had its release date pushed. So, so that's simply not a thing. And don't you worry about it, Jesse. As long as you write it in such a way that I can kind of get the gist of what you're going at, we're totally good, my friend. All right. Matthew Downs writes, I work at a dine-in theater. Oh, I love dine-in theaters, dude. I love them. I wish I had more that were closer to me. Anyway, my Dark Phoenix showing last night had, wait for it, 2 people in it. I've never seen that happen at a Thursday night premiere. I don't know what to say. I can tell you that the theater I was in was almost packed. And that was like a 500-seat theater I was in last night. But then again, I'm in Los Angeles. And I think probably more people go to the movies in Los Angeles. I don't know that. Is that a fact? I don't know that that's a fact. I'm just kind of guessing, I suppose. But but I'm sure there were a lot of half-empty or mostly empty theaters as well. That sucks. That sucks. It deserves better than that. But again, I don't think this is going to be a big, right? I think on Sunday when we get the box office numbers, I don't think we're going to see anything too impressive. All right, Adrian St. Port writes, this probably won't matter to you, but Nathan Drake is husky, 6'1" tall, and always has a 5 o'clock shadow. Holland just doesn't have the look. Well, but back up. Remember they said that this is going to be a younger Tom Holland. This is going to be a younger Tom Holland. Sorry, a younger Tom Holland. This is going to be a younger Nathan Drake. Now, full credit, that's fine. Hey, in the game, he's 6'1" tall and has a 5 o'clock shadow. Great. Wolverine's 5'3" in the comic books. Hugh Jackman's like what, 6'1", 6'2"? How'd that turn out? Turned out amazing. So I agree. Look, I get it, but honestly, I think these physical differences between certain characters in comic books, literary sources, video games, I really don't think they're that important. Again, Wolverine's supposed to be 5'3", 5'2", 5'3". Hugh Jackman is like this huge, tall guy. But ultimately, that doesn't matter. It's what do you do with the character once they're there. That's the thing that matters. Tom Holland is a very gifted actor. He's also physically in tremendous shape. He's been a dancer his whole life. He's young, but he's not that young. He's 23 years old. He could have a very long career in front of him here. And I think it's going to be fine. Honestly, I think, Adrian, if our biggest concern right now is, wait a minute, he's 3 inches shorter than the guy in the video game's supposed to be. If that's the biggest concern, then we're doing pretty good. I think if that's our biggest concern right now, then we're on pretty safe ground. If we're not worried about the dude's acting ability, because clearly we've seen this kid can act, so there's that. If we're not worried about how long can he be around in the role, he's 23 years old, he can play this role for a long time, so pretty good with that. If we're not worried about, we'd rather get somebody with a name that would bring some attention to this franchise. Tom Holland's a big name right now, so we don't have to worry about that. So I would say, yeah, if our biggest worry right now is the fact that he's not 6'1", then I wouldn't worry about it. I really wouldn't worry about it at all. I think it would be fine. Jack Reacher's a lot taller than Tom Cruise is in the Jack Reacher novels. Not a problem. Not a problem. So I honestly, I think we're okay. I think we'll be okay. But again, let's see what type of Nathan Drake they write for the movies. Let's see how he fits in there. Look, it might be a total disaster. It might be. But for now, I'm feeling pretty good about it. For now. Let's see what happens next year when trailers start dropping. All right. JB Bonifacio writes, never tell me the odds, Warriors 2-2. Hey, listen, I think the Raptors win in 7. That means I believe the Warriors are going to win 2 more games. I do believe the Warriors are going to win 2 more games. I can totally see this series going back to Toronto tied up 2-2. I can totally see that. Because I don't believe the Raptors win this thing in 5. I think they win it in 7. Or the Warriors win in 7. Either way, it's a good, tough, hard series. So I could totally see the Warriors winning this next game. Jesse Lopez writes, do you think Matt Reeves should use a lesser-known villain for his Batman movie or bring back a fan favorite? Bane's been a favorite to me. It's completely irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. Makes no difference whatsoever. All that matters is how well does he use whatever villain he does use. Right? Because he can put the Joker in, but if it's not done right, it won't matter that it's the Joker. It'll still be bad. He can put in KG Beast, and if they do KG Beast right, which most people have never heard of, they do KG Beast right, and he writes a great villain and gives him great things to do in the movie and makes him compelling and gives him depth and do all that kind of stuff. If Matt Reeves does that with KG Beast, people may think it's better than Heath Ledger's Joker, even though it's a lesser known character. We've seen Fantastic Four movies put in Doctor Doom, one of the great comic book villains of all time, but it's not executed right, so it ends up being a waste. So that's why, to me, Jesse, it really doesn't matter. I really don't care what villain they put in. As long as Matt Reeves does a great job with whatever villain he puts in, then I think we're okay. So I'm going to trust him. Whatever character he chooses, I'm just going to trust that he chooses what is best for the story. And let's see where it goes from there. Matsif Jada writes, Tom doesn't have the vibe of Nathan Drake. Fillion's too old to play the role. And by the way, no, he just doesn't have the vibe of Nathan Drake to you. You don't know the script that they've written. You don't know how it's turned about. For all we know, if we've seen the script, we might go, oh, hell yeah, Tom Holland's perfect for this. I mean, you just got to give it time. So, you know what? Tom Holland is an actor. He'll pull off whatever vibe he needs to pull off. If you're thinking of the vibe he gives in Spider-Man, okay, then yeah, that's nothing like Nathan Drake. But he's a good actor. He'll be able to pull off whatever vibe he needs to pull off. And whatever vibe that Nathan Drake has in the script, he'll make that vibe happen. I believe, at any rate. Maybe he won't. Maybe it'll be a disaster. Maybe it'll suck. I don't know. But, he is an actor. That's what they do. And I think he'll do fine. Fillion, no. Unfortunately, look, I love Nathan Fillion. I do. But at this point, let me just pull this up here. How old is Nathan Fillion? Nathan, right now, he's 48 years old. Right? So by the time this movie comes out, he'll be about 50. Can you do that? Can you do this franchise starting with an almost 50-year-old actor that you hope to carry on for 6, 7, 8 years over 3 or 4 films? I don't think so. I love Nathan Fillion. I love him. Good Canadian kid. And that little short film he did was really fun for a short little online film. It was really fun. I enjoyed it greatly. But no, I don't. If they had made this movie 10 years ago, hell, even 6 years ago, if they had done this movie 6 years ago, I would have been on board with Nathan Fillion. But at this point, I don't think you can do it. I don't think it's realistic at all to think that you could. Nick Markins, wow, sends in a huge super chat. Thank you, Nick, for supporting the channel on that level, man. That's really generous of you. Thank you, my friend. All right. Nick writes, hey, John, this year marks the 10-year anniversary of James Cameron's Avatar, and about 7 years late of when they should have done a sequel. What are your thoughts on Avatar, and do you feel the film's legacy is only defined by being the highest grossing film? Well, I mean, here's the thing about Avatar. I think Avatar is an excellent film. I think it's an excellent film that deserved to be nominated for Best Picture, but did not deserve to win Best Picture, so I was pretty happy that it didn't. But I was totally cool with its nomination. It is, by James Cameron's own admission, James Cameron said that Avatar is Dances with Wolves in space. And it is. It's beat for beat the Dances with Wolves story, just told in space, and the Pocahontas story, and the Fern Gully story. And but I think the most accurate comparison is Dances with Wolves. It's Dances with Wolves in space. That's what it is. But it's certainly imaginative, and it's awe-inspiring, and it's an immersive experience. It's a great movie. However, one of the things I've said about Avatar for many, many years is the fact that it is something that kind of disappeared from the pop cultural consciousness a lot faster than I thought it would have. Here's an example. You might have heard me give this one before. You know, when The Dark Knight came out, that year, lots of Joker costumes. Lots of Heath Ledger Joker costumes, particularly the nurse Joker costume, all that kind of stuff, right? That Halloween, lots of those costumes. The next year, still lots of them. The next year, still lots of them. The next year, still lots of them. Hell, this past October, I saw lots of people dressed up as Joker, whether it's in the nurse Joker outfit or one of his other outfits. I saw lots of people dressed up as the Heath Ledger Joker. There is something about The Dark Knight that has a staying power, a staying presence in the pop cultural consciousness. Avatar didn't. Because I remember, I might have still been doing the movie blog back in those days, but I remember like that first Halloween after Avatar came out, lots of people dressed as Navi, or Navi, or however you pronounce it. Lots of people dressed as the Blue Giants. The very next Halloween, I remember I was in Las Vegas for the following Halloween, and Halloween in Vegas is something pretty awesome, by the way, guys. If you've never done Halloween in Vegas, you should try Halloween in Vegas. But I remember seeing just the next year, I saw one Avatar costume. And I don't think I've seen another one since. I may have, and I've just forgotten about it. But honestly, I don't think I've seen another one since. I can't think of another time that I've seen an Avatar costume. It just basically disappeared from the pop cultural consciousness. It didn't have that same kind of staying power that a Star Wars does, that The Dark Knight does, that Marvel films do, all that kind of stuff. So while I think it is an excellent movie, and I had no problem with it being nominated for Best Picture because it is awe-inspiring and immersive and an incredible adventure film, I think the bulk of its legacy, Nick, is wrapped up in the fact that it is the highest grossing film of all time. If it were not the highest grossing film of all time, I don't know that it would be brought up in conversations nearly as often as it does. I really don't. And I don't mean that to be dismissive of Avatar, not in the least. It's a good, solid, great movie. But there are other good, solid, great movies that we don't talk about very much. And if you're asking really what is it that keeps it coming up in conversation, I think that's it. The fact that it is the #1 box office film of all time, at least for now. I think that's the kicker right there. So that's just how I kind of see it. What do you guys think about Avatar overall? I think it's become cool for people to hate on it because now people don't like James Cameron. So they like to rewrite history and be cool and say, oh no, Avatar sucks, because it's the cool thing to say now. Avatar's a great movie. Avatar's a great movie. But what do you guys think about that? What do you think is the basis of its legacy at this point? Like Nick is asking, jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. And again, Nick, thank you so much for that. Thank you for supporting the channel on that level, man. Really appreciate it. All right. Trail Shredder Juan Malagon writes, hello there, wishing you guys a great weekend. Thank you, Trail, and a good weekend to you as well. And then he follows up with, Lucifer got renewed for at least one season. Can't wait. Me too. I mean, after watching season 4, all I could do is like, please tell me you're going to do season 5. Please tell me you're going to do season 5. It's the last season. That sucks, but thank you for giving us season 5. So I'm really happy about that, Trail. All right, James Bonner writes, saw Booksmart. Billy Lord is now my favorite person like ever. I'm telling you guys, first of all, Booksmart as of right now, as of this moment, Booksmart is my favorite film of the year. Billy Lord who is a supporting character, and of course she's Carrie Fisher's daughter. Billie Lourd is outstanding in it. I loved her in this movie. I can't wait to see what else she does. Patrick Conway writes, why is Boba Fett so big? He's hardly in the movies. Hey, that's been a big discussion for a long time. He's had like 4 or 5 lines in all the movies. He really doesn't appear. I think it's the mystery of the character. It's this faceless character that we don't see very often, and there's that whole mysterious element to Boba Fett that I think really has elevated him quite a big bunch. Jose Garcia writes, but is there any way Cacklin access? I think maybe you meant can. Is there any way I can access other countries' subscriptions to like HBO? I assume HBO in other countries is in their language, and I want my parents to see Chernobyl, but it's only in English here. Ooh, that is a fascinating question, Jose. Well, okay. First of all, in your preference settings, I know there are some streaming services that give you an option for language, or at least subtitled languages, right? So I know when I go to a show on a streaming service, I can often bring up the subtitle menu, and it'll give me an option of different languages to at least subtitle. Now, I know you're not asking about subtitling, but there's that part. It's not something I've ever done, and it's not something I recommend nor encourage doing. But what I have heard is that if you get what's the word I'm looking for? A VPN. If you get a VPN, you can sort of mask your computer to make it look like your computer is coming from somewhere else. I don't know the ins and the outs of it. I've never done it myself. I've never had the need to do it. And again, I do not recommend it, nor do I endorse doing that. But if that is something you're looking for more information on, there's plenty of stuff online that you can find. So look for that VPN, different location, blah, blah, blah. Just Google that sort of stuff and you should be able to find something. But that's a really interesting question, Jose. I've never really even thought about that. That's a good one. Now, guys, actually in the comments section, do you guys have any advice for Jose? Is there ways now in HBO that you can get different languages for all that kind of stuff? Do you have recommendations? Please fire that in. Help a brother out. Let him know, because I think that's a really fascinating dilemma. All right. Either Audrey writes, 1 of 3, loved anime since I found it 5 years ago. I've seen that many don't watch because of the stigma that it's foreign and anime is only for children. I used to hold similar ideas until I took the plunge. For any who's keen on expanding their viewing, I'm starting a series of suggested anime I love in no precise order with a brief detail of the show. I know John doesn't have much time for TV. This is to pique all of y'all's interest. Anime either I should say, is a huge popular thing. Not as popular as people who are into anime think it is, but it is quite huge and popular. And a lot of people love it. And I know a lot of people who watch this show love it. I wish I could say I was into more of it. I'm not. I don't have a dislike for anime. I'm just saying there's not a lot of anime. And I've talked about the ones that I do like. I'm not that huge on it, but there's a lot of good stuff online where you can find, if you want to get into it, there's a lot of good stuff online of like shows that are great introductory pieces of content to get you into anime to see if that's your thing. And if you've never tried anime, I back up what Either is saying. If you've never tried it, it is a very popular genre. And it might be worth it for you to take an hour or two and test out a little bit of anime, whether it's One Punch Man or whatever. But there's stuff for you to test out and try and maybe see if it's for you, because it just might be. And Either, I think the stuff you're recommending here about putting together a list that'd be a good thing as a gateway is a very, very good idea. And guys, follow the advice. If you've never tried it, it might be something you might want to try. Okay. Either also follows up with weekly anime recommendations, genre, comedy, slice of life, stories following everyday lives of people, common in high school. Giken Shouju, Nozaki Hun, high school student. Sakura flubs her confession and her crush and ends up unraveled in a crazy world of airheads. So there's a couple of recommendations, guys. If you want to get things started on that, there's a couple of recommendations right there. It was very considerate of you, Either. All right. Jeremy Chasen just sends in a super chat. Thank you, Jeremy. Patrick Conway writes, watch Favreau's Chef's Show on Netflix. So hungry. You know what? I love Jon Favreau's movie Chef. I heard they're doing a show, but I have not had a chance to check it out yet. But thank you for reminding me about that, Patrick, because I do want to check that out. All right, Cameron Ross writes, hey, John and crew. I heard Swamp Thing was canceled over tax problems they were having in the state they were filming in, and it didn't get as much money back as they thought, which is why they cut it short. Yeah, that's been going around. And here's the thing. I could see why that would cut it short. But why does that make you cancel the show? You've got plenty of time to try to work something else out. Find another state to shoot in or whatever. I don't understand. I could see how that would be a very large factor in why you would cut the last few episodes out, because you're getting like $20 million less than you thought you were getting. That's understandable. But why that would force you to cancel the show? You have 8 months to try to figure out something else. And if you can't figure out anything else after 8 months, then cancel the show. Why come out after the first episode drops and goes, by the way, show's canceled? What? That, to me, that makes no sense, Cameron. That makes no sense. Totally understandable why you cut out the final 3 episodes. That makes a little bit of sense. But why you would then cancel the whole show without even taking all this time you have to see if you can figure out something else, at least let the first season play out before you announce that the show's canceled. You recorded 10 episodes. You're going to air them. Why don't you at least let them air before you let everybody know, by the way, this is a walking duck show. It's dead already. See, that I don't understand. That's the part I don't get. Anyway, Carlos Sosa writes, heard the next phase of the MCU will consist of 2 separate universes. Villains are Norman Osborn, will form Dark Avengers and Galactus elsewhere. Whatever you're hearing at this point, Carlos, is probably all BS. Whatever you're hearing at this point is probably all BS. Nobody knows except for Kevin Feige. So whoever else is speculating that, whatever, they don't know. You can guess and speculate, and maybe that'll be the case. But I can tell you right now, anybody you're hearing this from doesn't actually know. They're only speculating as much as you're speculating, as much as I'm speculating. They don't know. Only Kevin Feige knows at this point. Cameron Ross writes, roll it again. Yeah, one of the great moments from Star Wars Celebration is having Ian McDiarmid, the Emperor himself, come out, run it again. I just thought that was great. Jeffrey Schaefer writes, hey, John, I heard that Warner Brothers has the rights to the Dragon Riders of Pern. Why the hell haven't they done anything with it? Thanks so much. They have the rights to 1,000 different properties. I mean, these studios, they buy up rights all the time. Like for every 20 rights that they buy, only one movie gets made, probably. Lots and lots and lots and lots of movies, get the rights, or stories get the rights purchased, screenplays, books, whatever. They either just figured right now they haven't cracked the code on how to make it a decent movie, or they don't think their marketing research has showed that it could be profitable. So it's always one or the other. It's always one or the other. Jared Oberfeld writes, what is your favorite animated movie from outside of the U.S.? Mine is Hayao Miyazaki's Spirited Away, the only foreign film to win Best Animated Feature. It's usually there's a couple that usually comes down for me. On the more morbid side is Graveyard of the Fireflies. It is astonishing, but it's so depressing. Like, I could never watch it again. Not because it's not great, it is. But it's so depressing. I don't know that I could ever watch it again. And then there's obviously Howl's Moving Castle. I'm probably going to go with that one. So my favorite foreign animated one is probably Howl's Moving Castle. That's the one I would probably go with. Jared Oberfield follows up with, just remembered, who do you have for the Women's World Cup? I don't follow soccer all that much, but I'm going to play it safe and guess either Brazil or the U.S. So I'm going to play it safe and guess one of those two. Curtis Lopez writes, watched The Dark Crystal for the first time yesterday and really enjoyed it, but will not get the Chamberlain's whimper out of my head. Yes. God, I love Dark Crystal. I love Dark Crystal so much. And I'm so excited they're bringing it back to Netflix. Netflix has just been saving all these IPs that I love so much. So I am in huge gratitude to Netflix. Thank you, Netflix, so much for being so awesome. But yeah, man, the Chamberlain's whimper is like one of the best and most memorable things about it. It adds so much character to that individual. It brings so much character to the individual. It's just so great. And I'm glad you had a chance to watch it, Curtis. Cannot wait for the show to hit Netflix. All right, Jesse Keller writes, have you seen Chef, the Netflix released Chef series? I have not yet. Like I said, I love the movie. I'm curious about the show, but I haven't watched it yet. Again, I don't have time for a lot of television, but I'm going to try to watch that one. Isaac Uzeta writes, "Hey John, I was speaking with a couple at a movie last night before it started who were not only fans of your show, but love it. That's pretty awesome." Well, thank you so much. That's really cool to hear, Isaac. It's, it's always fun when I go down to the AMC Burbank 16. It's a real kick for me. Socially stressful, but totally thrilling at the same time for me. That I almost always have people at the theaters will come up to me and say, "Hey, I watched the show and I love it." People are so nice and so generous, and they make me feel so good. They come up and like, "Oh, watch the show, love the show," blah, take pictures with them and stuff like that. It's always fun when you can do that. I remember this one time, right outside of the AMC Burbank 16 is a Cold Stone ice cream shop, and we went into it and we were standing in line, and this guy, I might have told the story before, but this guy standing in front of us in line had his phone up and he was standing in front of us and he was literally watching the John Campea Show. And I tapped Ann on the shoulder and we pointed at her, at the guy in front of us watching it. And so I just kind of leaned forward a little bit. I said, "Oh man, I love this guy's show." And he goes, "Oh yeah?" And he turns around and looks at me and looks back at his phone. That was pretty fun. But it's always cool when you, not just whether it's my show, but it's always cool when you can bump into people who are, like if you watch some obscure YouTube channel like mine, but some other one, like you're watching some obscure YouTube channel and you happen to bump into somebody who's talking about that YouTube channel you watch. That's always fun. So thanks for sharing that, Isaac. It put a smile on my face. All right, Draco Eris sends in a generous super chat. Thank you so much for that, Draco. Thanks for supporting the channel on that level, man. "I never knew June was Pride Month. Neither did I. So here's my list of the top 10 best LGBT films. Love Simon. Love Simon's a really special. It's a really nice little film. Cloud Atlas, Brokeback Mountain, Call Me By Your Name. That one's really good too. Rent, Nymphomaniac, Moonlight, The Danish Girl, Chasing Amy, Milk. I mean, you know what? If somebody had just asked me, Draco, what are some of the best LGBT? I probably wouldn't have pulled a lot off the top of my head. That's a great list. That's a great list. Man, it just reminded me too of how much I love Chasing Amy. I gotta watch Chasing Amy again. I haven't seen that one in a while. But Milk, fantastic. Nymphomaniac is not for everybody. Rent, fantastic. Danish Girl's fantastic. Moonlight, best picture of the year, fantastic. Brokeback Mountain's fantastic. Call Me By Your Name's fantastic. Cloud Atlas, I'm not huge on Cloud Atlas, but Love Simon's a really good. Nice list, my friend. Very, very nice list. I can't even, it's so good I can't think of any off the top of my head. Birdcage, maybe it would be one I would throw in there too, but not many I can think of off the top of my head to add to that. It's a really good list, man. Thanks for sharing it. Kayla Cohn writes, "Way to start my birthday right. It's your birthday, Kayla. Happy birthday. I hope you have a great day today and a fantastic year ahead of you. And thanks for letting us be a part of your day on your birthday. Happy birthday." All right. Heather Long writes, "Outside of John Wick, what is your favorite original IP to come out of this decade? 2010. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It's a great question, Heather, but that's something I would need to sit down and think about and go through some lists and all that kind of stuff. So off the top of my head, I simply cannot say. Off the top of my head. I love The Accountant. I love Black Swan. But I don't know. It's not something that I just carry around off the top of my head. You know what I mean? It's a very worthy question, but it's not one that I get. But those are a couple of good ones that you just named yourself. Those are a couple of good ones. Chris Listenfelt writes, "Rumor has it the Flash is going to be in the next Star Wars?" I don't know what you mean by that. Ryan Lohner writes, "I reached the episode where Lucifer's mom saves him from hell and then immediately after saw the renewal news. That's fabulous." First of all, it's great that you're starting on Lucifer and you're caught up to that point. I love Lucifer's mom, by the way. She's played by Tricia Helfer. I believe that's the name of the girl. Good Canadian kid, by the way, from Battlestar Galactica. She's fabulous in it as Lucifer's mom. So I'm glad you're up to that point. Renewal notice is great, so you know you got another season to come. All right, K Major writes, Yes. I'm totally behind Holland being Nathan Drake. The only reason I own a PS3 and PS4 are because of the Uncharted games. I love the character. I can't wait to see this brought to life. I was skeptical about Holland, but I finally saw Homecoming and he's good and he's all good in my books now. And yeah, look, again, I think there are some people who see Nathan Holland in Spider-Man and think, oh, so he's going to play Nathan Drake the exact same way he plays Spider-Man. No, he's an actor. He will play whatever the script needs him to play. So let's wait and see how that goes. But I'm with you, K Major. I look, you know what I usually say? The only thing I care about when casting something is, are you getting somebody that's talented? Because if you're doing something, if you get somebody who's not talented, you're very limited with what you can do. If you get somebody who is talented, then the sky's the limit. Then you can work with that. If you get somebody who is talented, you can work with that. And Tom Holland, very talented. Very talented. Good age for somebody, if you want to make sure this is a series that can continue for a while, you got some good age for it. They were already saying they wanted to go with a younger Nathan Drake. So if you're already saying you're going, like, remember this, it's not like they got it's not like they got Tom Holland, because this is important, an important distinction. They're not going with a younger Nathan Drake because they wanted Tom Holland. They had already decided we're going to go with a younger Nathan Drake. Okay, then who do we get as our actor? And if you've already decided that we're going with a younger Nathan Drake, then Tom Holland's a pretty good choice. There are others, maybe others that would be higher on our list, whatever, but he's a good choice, and I think it's going to work out. But again, let's kind of wait. About a year from now is when we'll start getting our first trailers for it, and then we'll start to make some judgments, I think. Nicholas Sergi writes, Tales from the Far Side 1 and 2 were 1990s animations. Really? I don't remember those, because I love the Far Side. Far Side is probably my third all-time favorite comic strip. All-time favorite one is Calvin and Hobbes. No question, no doubt, no competition. Calvin and Hobbes, my number one. My number two is Dilbert. I don't know why, I just adore Dilbert. I think Dilbert's great. But number three, very solid three, is Far Side. Far Side always maybe, but I didn't know there were animated things. I'd have to go back and see if I can find those. Let's see. Ninja Greg writes, Happy Friday. Which is better, Godzilla or X-Men? Ooh, like I'm assuming you mean the new versions of both, like the new Godzilla, the new X-Men. The new X-Men's better. I don't think Godzilla's awful. I don't think it's very good. I'll give it by a little bit of a margin to X-Men. But that's just my opinion. Other people might say other things, but if you're asking me, I think X-Men is, let's put it this way. If I had a choice to go back to a movie right now and I could either see Godzilla again or see X-Men again, I'm going to go see X-Men again. I thought it was a little bit better than Godzilla. Suthius writes, Hey, Mr. C. Well, I like the music in the opening scene. The only thing I at least smiled at was Magneto. No spoilers. He does some really cool stuff. Oh, he really does. He really does. Now, again, in the middle of the film, they do some really stupid things with Magneto. But once you get in the third act, Magneto does some pretty badass stuff. And I'm a big fan of Michael Fassbender as Magneto. You guys know Magneto's my all-time favorite comic book character. So, yeah, he really, really does. Mark Newman writes, Been a while since last update. Is the home studio still... Oh, God, this again. I've answered this about 5 times. Anyway, is the home studio still the permanent studio for the foreseeable future now or still on the hunt? Have a great weekend, JC. Thank you for that, Mark. No, as I've announced on and answered the question 4 or 5 or 6 times, yes, the home studio is quasi-permanent. It's quasi-permanent. I love what we're being able to do with the home studio. I love being able to have Robert and, Ashley and now somebody else at some point. And sometimes fact checker Jonathan. By the way, fact checker Jonathan is going to start coming in. I'm really excited about that. But I'm really happy with what we're able to do from the home studio. That does not mean I'm not keeping my eye open for another studio space outside of my house and set up a bigger, better studio space. I am keeping my eyes open for that. The problem is I live in Burbank, California. And I'll just be straight up with you. Even only like an hour away in Corona, California, I could probably get 1,500 to 2,000 square feet, which would be plenty of space. Plenty of space for my needs. I could get like a 1,500 to 2,000 square foot space, probably for like $1,000 a month or like $1,500 a month. I could probably find that. Problem is I don't live there. I live here in Burbank. And where there is space like that, it's $7,000 or $8,000 a month. I don't have that money. So, but right now I'm perfectly happy in the home studio. I think we're producing really good, high quality content here. I think the production value of the show has been really good. Would I like to have A dedicated open studio space? Yes. But I got to keep the finances in mind at the same time because it's not that easy finding it here. KV Channel writes, will you grace us with your presence at New York Comic Con this year? I doubt it, but it's possible. I've been wanting to go. The problem is you got to fly to New York. That's expensive. You got to get hotels in New York. That's expensive. And then I'm away from the show, and that costs me money. When I'm not here to do the show, that costs me money. So it's tough. It's tough. I would like to. Maybe I will. Let's wait and see. Because I've been wanting to go for the last few years. Thanasi Spiliotis. I'm sure I'm butchering your name. Forgive me for that. Evan Rachel Wood would be good Jean Grey in the MCU. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. Anybody who's because Wood's a decent actress, so sure. But I really don't care about could X actor be in X role. I really don't care. I get it, X, because we're talking about X-Men. No. Let's just say, could Y actor be in Y role? As long as a decent actor, sure. But there are 1,000 other actors that could as well. But because Rachel Wood is a good actress, I'll say yes. Sure. Not the best. And I'd be fine if they ever announced that. But honestly, Game of Thrones girl did a very good job in this one. I thought she did. Nosferatu writes, did you ever see those ludicrous allegations against Stan Lee? So disrespectful. I did not. But here's the thing about allegations. Unless I know the people personally, I try not to make definitive judgments one way or the other. Because for all you know, maybe I've never even heard of the allegations, so I don't know. Maybe the allegations were true. I don't know, never saw them, don't know what we're talking about. Suthius writes, does doing the show until 11:30 free up time you would have used for companion videos? If it works better for you and your time management, great. It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. See, what Suthius is referring to is that I decided last week to, after my shot clock idea crashed and burned horribly, I decided, okay, well, I'll try making the show a little bit longer then. So I've been taking it to about 2 hours. The benefit of taking it to 2 hours is that for you guys who send in super chat questions, I want to get them actually answered in the show when you sent them in. So by doing the show 2 hours instead of just limiting it to an hour and a half, I'm able to get a lot more of your questions asked on the show that you actually sent them in, because I think that's important and I want to do that. The companion videos ideas have it's always worked. I mean, hey, if we didn't have time for it, you still get your questions answered the same day, but in a separate video. So it's how much time it frees up. It probably saves me about 20 minutes of time by doing it all in one show. Overall, it probably saves me about 20 minutes of time, but not a massive amount of time. I just think it's really cool that if people send in super chats that more often than not, I'm actually able to answer it in the same show as when they sent it. So that's what I'm striving for. That's what I'm striving for, because you guys have no idea how much I appreciate that you send in these questions. Number one, because you give us great fun stuff to talk about, but number two, because you're supporting the channel. And I really want to try to show my gratitude by, if I can get them answered during the live show, I really want to try to do that. So that's my primary motivation for stretching it out to 2 hours. But anyway, thank you for asking that, Suthius. I appreciate your courtesy. All right, Sujith writes, any news on the Tomb Raider sequel? None that I've heard at this point. I've heard it's still on the table, but that's all I've heard. Insta Patriot writes, hey John, what are the odds of a 5-film Rambo marathon? I am definitely on board for it. Please keep bringing the filthy. You mean, what are the odds of me doing a 5-film Rambo marathon? 0. 0. No, I'm not doing that. I don't even like all the Rambo films. I love First Blood. I really like the second one. I'm looking forward to this new one as well, but I don't think I'll be doing a 5-film marathon. But if you can do it, man, hats off to you, man. Good on you. All right. BSAJ writes, what do you think the chances of New Mutants happening now that Dark Phoenix, considering New Mutants still has reshoots to do? 100%. It's 100% happening. They've already spent most of the money on producing it. So you got to put it in theaters to recoup some of that money now. So, and Disney's given it a release date. I think 100%. I don't see there being any possibility at this point. I mean, anything can happen. Anything can happen. But right now, I don't see there being any rational reason to believe that it's not going to get its release. It will get its release and they'll make some of their money back. K Major writes, fingers crossed on this generation's Indiana Jones. Can you tell how hype I am for this movie? I can talk Nathan Drake all day. Oh, okay. You're actually talking about Uncharted. I mean, who knows? Remember, guys, before you get too excited, remember, it's still a video game movie. It's still a video game movie. And like 45 out of the 47 video game movies that have come out have been absolutely crap. And just because something works in a video game does not necessarily mean it'll work on the big screen. Now, look, I'm excited for it too. I think this is a good idea. I'm excited to see this, but let's try to keep ourselves. Let's try to keep it a little bit balanced as well and understand that this could work out to be a complete and total disaster, but who knows? Hopefully it's good, man. Hopefully it's good. Ed Matthews sends in a really big super chat. Thank you, Ed. And Ed writes in, saw a rumor floating around about MCU Fantastic Four. Where are we at here? There it is. I saw a rumor floating around about an MCU Fantastic Four aimed for a 2022 release with Ant-Man director Peyton Reed to direct. His vision for the Fantastic Four is supposedly set in the 1960s and involves the quantum realm in some capacity. Thoughts? Don't buy it. Don't buy it. I like Peyton Reed as a director, by the way. I think he's done a fabulous job with his Ant-Man films. Very, very much. 2022 would be on the short end of when something like that would come out. But again, don't believe anybody who's generating that rumor doesn't actually know anything. They're making something up. They're guessing. They're speculating, all that kind of stuff. If it got announced, Fantastic Four, directed by Peyton Reed, yeah, I'd be down for that. Set in the 60s seems like an odd choice. And quantum realm stuff, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm so over the quantum realm stuff. I am so over it. Multi-dimension, time travel, I think it's all BS, and I think it's all lazy writing. Has it been used to great effect at times? Yes, it has. Absolutely. I'm not denying that. But for the most part, I find it to be the ultimate lazy man's plot devices. Multiple dimensions and time travel, lazy. Totally lazy. All that tells me is you can't figure out a way as a writer to make your story work in our existing world, so you cop out and say it's a different dimension. It's time travel. I hate it, to be honest with you, and I hope they don't. But hey, I'll tell you what, though, Ed, if they did announce, which I don't believe they are, but if they did announce a Fantastic Four 2022, that's a good amount of time from now, 3 years, directed by Peyton Reed, all for it. Completely all for it. So let's see what happens there. All right, Marie Seafring writes, who sends in a nice super chat as well. Thank you, Marie. For Tom Holland's birthday, Naomi Watts posted a picture of her and Tom when they were filming The Impossible in 2012. Love the film, but I didn't remember that Tom was in films since he was like 15 or 16. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, was Tom Holland not in that little dance movie? Was Tom Holland not? He was in that dance movie, right? Where he was the kid dancing. Was he not? Let me just bring this up here. So he's been acting since before that. If I'm right about that. Where is it? Billy Elliot. That's right. Yes. Billy Elliot. I guess that came after. I keep forgetting that came after The Impossible. As a matter of fact. Okay, so that came after The Impossible. But yeah, everybody forgets he was Billy Elliot in that little dance movie. That's the same kid. That's why when you see him on these shows now and he busts out some dance moves, he's been a dancer his whole life and he's great in that. I totally forgot about The Impossible. Yeah, he's been acting for a long time. He's been in the business. He's got a number of these movies under his belt, and we forget about these. Billy Elliot is one everybody forgets about. I forgot about The Impossible, so very good thing to bring up there, Marie. Thanks. 20 Jackson Schaefer also sends in a big super chat. Thank you, 20 Jackson. Love the channel. Thank you so much, Jackson. I used to only watch comic book movies, but your channel, Screen Junkies, and Sean Chandler showed me other great movies. I recently found The Departed. Love The Departed. Never left the edge of my seat. You know, it's funny you bring that up, Jackson, because I sometimes tell the story about how I used to feel like back in my movie blog days, I used to feel like part of my job was convincing people to give comic book movies a try because they're getting better and you should try comic book movies. Like I used to think that was part of my job, was to convince people to try comic book movies. But then a number of years ago, I feel like that flipped. And now I feel like a part of my job is trying to convince you guys to check out some non-comic book movies. Because there's a lot of people, that's all they watch. They only watch comic book movies. And whatever, that's fine. But I feel like now it's part of my job. It's like, guys, there's some of these great movies you got to check out, man. And I feel like that's part of my job now too. So, hey, man, that's awesome on you, Jackson, that you've been expanding your film appreciating horizons, that you've been expanding your repertoire. That's awesome. Good on you. And Departed is fabulous. By the way, let me throw in another little recommendation. If you like The Departed, which won Best Picture at the Academy Awards, won Martin Scorsese his first directing Academy Award. If you like it, I highly recommend checking out the movie it's based on, because The Departed's actually a remake. It's based on my all-time favorite cop film, which is an Asian film called Infernal Affairs. If you like The Departed, check out Infernal Affairs. It'll be subtitled, so you'll have to read subtitles, but it is my all-time number one favorite cop film. All-time favorite cop film. So if you like The Departed, maybe check that one out too, Jackson. And thank you for sharing that, dude. All right. I'm Upset writes, thoughts on The Cold Light of Day with Henry Cavill? I don't think I've watched it. Sully writes, hey, John, what's up and Hey, John, what up and coming actors are you keeping your eye on? Any movies, shows you can recommend of relatively new actors? Off the top of my head, it's not a lot. I don't keep that stuff off the top of my head, to be honest. So I can't really think of any. Not off the top of my head. Dakota Fanning's sister, I keep forgetting her name. Ella Fanning. She's somebody to keep an eye on. I mean, she's really, really good, really, really talented. Otherwise, sorry about this. It's not stuff I got. It's a great question. What about you guys in the chat section? Do you got some young up and coming actors that you're keeping your eye on? Some movies and TV shows that got some really like fresh new faces that you're appreciating? Jump in the comment section and give Sully some insight there. That would be great. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, if Trixie from Lucifer and Darla from Shazam are ever in the same room, it'll be a cuteness nuclear explosion. I'll tell you what, this kid, Trixie, in Lucifer, who plays the detective's daughter, I get cavities looking at her. She's so sweet. Like you ever hear people, I could just eat you up. Like I just want to eat her up. Like oh my God, like how are you this cute? How are you this cute? And the little girl who played Darla in Shazam, the youngest sister in Shazam. Oh my God, you put two of them. You're right. There could be like a collapse of the space-time continuum with that much cuteness being in one room because it's almost unbearable. All right, Hero writes, is Keanu on his way to action movie Mount Rushmore? Yeah, he has to break out of the John Wick franchise. But then again, he's got Matrix. He's done others that have not been successful. Might be. Let's see what he's got coming in the next couple of years. By the way, see his new movie on Netflix, Always Be My Maybe. Totally charming. Akshu Davala, I'm sure I butchered your name. Forget, I'm the worst in the world with names. But anyway, I know Fox has had some misses with X-Men, but it's funny when some hardcore MCU fans use the X-Men and Fantastic Four franchises in the same sentence. Logan is still my favorite comic book movie. Logan is absolutely one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. It's easily in my top three. In no particular order, in my top three are Avengers, Dark Knight, Logan. Those are the three best comic book movies ever made, in my opinion. Logan is absolutely better than most of the MCU movies. X-Men Days of Future Past. You're right. It's just the thing. It has been frustrating to me to see how many people forget how great of movies Fox has made with their X-Men franchise. Yeah, they made some stinkers. Apocalypse, X-Men Origins Wolverine, but X-Men 2 is fabulous. X-Men is the whole reason the MCU even exists. First Class, a lot of people love. Days of Future Past is one of the top 10 best comic book movies ever made. Logan is one of the top 10 best comic book movies ever made. Deadpool 2. I mean, a lot of people just conveniently forget that. They just forget that. They made some of the best movies. Some movies are a lot better than most MCU movies. And I'm going to miss that we're going to get that type of a difference in these things. All right, Patrick Conway writes, Dark Phoenix or Godzilla, what to see this weekend? My recommendation, Dark Phoenix. Ed Matthews writes, when Warner Brothers launches their streaming service, do you think they will take HBO off of Hulu? Please say it ain't so, John. I don't know, because isn't HBO like an add-on for Hulu? Like, don't you pay extra to get, because I don't think HBO shows are just on Hulu. I think you have to pay extra for that. I think there are certain streaming services that you can pay extra to get HBO. I don't see why they would change that, because you've got multiple income streams coming in. So I'm going to guess they wouldn't change that. Who knows? Maybe they will. But my guess off the top of my head is that they won't. All right. Jason. Oh, sorry. Big jump. Where are we at? Jason Dolan writes, fans, if you call failure experience, studio execs, I call experience. Simon Kinberg, the Loki of directors, hashtag Infinity War, hashtag Dark Phoenix. Maybe, and remember, I want to be very, very clear about this. He's directed one movie. It's not like he directed 4 stinkers. He's directed one, and it was his first one. X-Men should not have been his first film, but he's directed one. He could have done worse, but now he's got a major motion picture, a big budget motion picture under his belt. Hopefully he's learned a lot of lessons from it, and hopefully now he'll be better the next time out. Again, it's not like he's put out 5 bad films in a row. He's done one movie, and it was his first. So yeah, I think you're right, man. I think in this situation, I call experience. It was his first movie. Let's give him a chance for number 2 before we pass any judgments. All right, Jeffrey Niffin writes, HBO Go for cable subs, HBO Now for streaming. I can't remember. I get the two confused. I don't really care. But you're right. One is for if you've already got a subscription. One if it isn't. I can't remember which is which. You might be right. SJ writes, how much do you think Men in Black makes opening weekend? Oh, I have no idea. What is the tracking for it? Men in Black International box office tracking. Let's see if they've got any predictive numbers right now. Right now, it's tracking for a 40 million opening weekend. Now, that was on May 23rd. That was obviously a long-range prediction, but right now they're tracking 40. So that actually sounds like a pretty good number for it. I would buy that. I would buy that could come in around 40. ZMG Ruler writes, Ant-Man too silly for a $1 billion comic book, has Marvel in her name. That's irrelevant. That's completely irrelevant. Captain Marvel has the word Marvel in her name. That's not a legitimate argument. Come on, ZMG Ruler. Come on, buddy. Give me something better than that. Hideaway Killer writes, I worked for Comcast. Just get cable and on demand is less money. Maybe. It depends on which services you have. Like, not everybody needs all the services. Some people might only want 1 or 2 streaming services. It could be. 20 Jackson Schaefer writes, including acquired content, which of the 4 main movie studios has the best all-time track record? Disney, Warner, Universal? I have no idea. I've probably not Disney. Probably Universal or Warner Brothers. If you're going to go all-time, it's probably one of those 2. Would be my guess at this point. Jason Shroom writes, John, I agree with you about HBO content. After Chernobyl, I watched Succession's another great one that people are liking. I watched Succession and now The Wire season 1 and True Detective season 1 is an all-time great. It is actually ridiculous when you actually sit down and look at the laundry list of these incredible, not movies, entire series that HBO has produced over the years. It's actually kind of stupid. It's dumb how much quality these guys have put out. Let's see. Marcus Robert Johnson writes, David Pacman was on the Joe Rogan podcast. It was good. If he can get on, surely you can, John. I doubt I could. I don't think Joe Rogan knows who or what I am, and I don't even know who I don't know who David Pacman is. So there it is. Yo Mama's Llama writes, Tom Ellis as a live action Thrawn equals titillating. Again, I really don't care what somebody looks like. But Tom Ellis is a good actor. So if Tom Ellis was playing Thrawn, I'd be down with it. But I also would be down with hundreds of any other really talented actors you could name. But yeah, sure, I'd be down for this because I like Tom Ellis. Akshu writes, I actually like X-Men 3 and Apocalypse in spite of all their flaws, hoping to have the same reaction when I see Dark Phoenix. And hey, that's the beauty of the subjectivity of film. You know, I didn't like those two movies, particularly X-Men Apocalypse, but there are those who do. That's the beautiful thing about the subjectivity of film. We can all watch the same film and it can hit us all in different ways. And if you enjoyed it, that's the important thing, my friend. All right, Darth Sidious writes, when is Krypton season 2 coming out? Because wasn't it supposed to come out last autumn/fall? No, they're running trailers for it now. There are trailers. The best thing to do is just do a Google search. But I've seen they're running trailers for Krypton season 2 now. So it's got to be coming out here pretty soon. I like season 1. I did. I thought the show looked pretty bad, but I watched season 1 and I actually thought it was pretty solid. I'm curious to see where they go with season 2. Ashku writes, Thanos lost his arm in the beginning of Endgame. Yes, I'm aware of that. I just thinking of all the other ones. Gene Checks writes, gonna be bittersweet to see Supernatural end next season. Oh God, I know. I mean, look, same kind of thing with Lucifer though, right? As a fan, not many people can say their favorite shows lasted 15 seasons. Not many fans can say that about their favorite shows. So we who are fans of Supernatural should just be approaching next season with an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Thank you guys for making 15 years of this show. One of the longest running shows of all time. Not the longest running show, but up there in the conversation. But you're right. It's hard for me to even remember a time when I wasn't going to watch an episode of Supernatural this week. It's hard to even remember or think of a time when I wasn't going to be watching an episode of Supernatural. You're right. It is absolutely genius. It's going to be bittersweet. Sujith writes, in India, we have a streaming service that gives us HBO, Marvel. Marvel doesn't have a streaming service. Sports and many more for just $14 per year. I have to wonder if that is a legal streaming service, Sujith. I don't know. I'm not passing any judgments. So that sounds a little odd. Courtney Ray Allen, have me back, please. Well, number one, I know that's not Courtney's real thing there because I know what her YouTube handle is. So that is not Courtney. Courtney's great, though. I love Courtney. Austin Church writes, John, love the show. You responded to my Batman Beyond comment with Keaton as Bruce Wayne and Pattinson as Terry McGillis. You don't think that'd be cool? No, I don't think there's anything cool about that at all. Nope, not in the least. I quite frankly, I think Batman Beyond is kind of stupid. That's just me, and I don't think the general movie-going audience is not interested in a Batman that's not Bruce Wayne. So, no. That's just me. There are people who love Batman Beyond, and that's awesome. I'm not crapping on anybody for that. But me, if you're asking me my opinion, no, I don't think it's a good idea at all. And I think it would flop. I honestly think it would seriously flop. Jacob Silvers writes, I think Holland will play the Drake from the flashbacks in Uncharted 3's Drake's Deception. That's what most people are speculating, but that Drake's a little young, isn't it? Isn't that Drake a little too young? But I mean, it's possible. There have been other people speculating that he's going to be the Drake from flashbacks. Z Zomba01 writes, used to live in San Diego, now Florida. I will fly out for Comic-Con if Ashley is going with you. Well, that's not creepy. All due respect, my brother, but that's a little creepy. Saying I will fly out there if this hot girl's going to be there. Okay. Well, I don't know what to say to that. Just you do you, brother. You do you. But she is wonderful. All right. Darth Sidious writes, hey, John, do you watch Attack on Titan, the anime series? And do you think they'll make a better movie than the one that came out in 2013? I watched a couple of episodes of Attack on Titan because I've got a bunch of the graphic novels here, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't like it all that much. And I've got friends of mine who love it. I honestly didn't like it all that much, so I kind of tapped out on it. Do I think they can make a better movie? Yes, I do think they can. Will they? That's the $1 million question, Sidious. That's the $1 million question. Ben Rayner writes, I'm just hoping Doom Patrol is safe. I got a feeling it will be. Like I said, what I think is going to happen here, and again, I'm not basing this on any insider information. This is just me guessing. What I'm going to guess is that DC is going to be folded into the WB streaming service. I think Doom Patrol's gotten a lot of critical acclaim. I think it's safe. I think we're definitely going to get a season 2. I hope. Don't know, but I hope. Ian Nguyendu writes, Lucifer season 5, final season. Thank you, Netflix. Indeed, Ian. Thank you, Netflix. Again, a little bummed out it's going to be the final one, but I just got nothing but love and gratitude in my heart. Dwayne Edwards writes, watched your getting started video and started my own podcast. Pretty simple. Thanks. Awesome. For those of you who don't know what Dwayne's talking about, A number of years ago, I created a video called Getting Started in, I can't remember the exact title, but it's basically getting started in YouTubing, podcasting, blogging, all that kind of stuff. And it's 2 hours long. And if you're interested, because I want more people to get involved in the online space, whether you're blogging, YouTubing, podcasting, whatever. I think the more people who get involved, the better and healthier the online space becomes. And the more intelligent people, the more rational people, the more true-hearted fans get online, start doing it, it helps drown out the idiots and the trolls. So I encourage people to get involved online. And if you want to see that video, just go to YouTube and search for John Campea Getting Started, and it'll be the first video that comes up. I made it a number of years ago. I need to refresh it at some point, but I'm glad you found it useful, Dwayne. I appreciate that, and good luck with your podcast, man. All right, Patrick Conway writes, going to cancel Netflix, then they renewed Lucifer. Hey man, Netflix is still a damn good deal. I don't know that I'm going to be canceling it anytime soon, but if I was on the edge of canceling, that Lucifer renewal is going to keep me on board. Frankie Gouge writes, MCU amputations. There's a Variety article on it. Really? Okay, I got to look that up because I find that little factoid fascinating that I didn't even know about. So I'm going to have to look that up. Thanks for sharing that. Daryl Gann writes, Netflix picking up Designated Survivor. I hear. Yes, I heard that too. And I believe it was right around the time that they said they were picking up Lucifer. I heard they were also going to pick up Designated Survivor. I liked Designated Survivor with Kiefer Sutherland. Not a great show, but I thought pretty solid. I enjoyed a little bit of West Wing to it there. Not nearly as good as West Wing, but had a little bit of a West Wing feel to it. I thought it was an interesting show. I enjoyed it. Frankie Gouge writes, Calvin and Hobbes is by far my favorite. Far Side number 2. Yep, they're both in my top 3. Again, I would just kind of slide in Dilbert in there into the number 2 spot, but Calvin and Hobbes, guys, if you've not read Calvin and Hobbes, go buy one of the big collections and just start reading Calvin and Hobbes. It's so freaking good. Wayne Edwards writes, just started watching AMC's The Terror. The production, that's the one with the ships, right? Anyway, the production value on this show is amazing. The quality of television these days is almost on cinematic level. It's getting there, man. It's really getting there. You know what? The funny thing is, The Terror is one that I saw the trailers for. This is like over a year ago. And I thought, this looks interesting, but I never did check it out. Honestly, Wayne, you're the first person I've talked to that said they've even watched it. I've never heard anything bad about it. I just don't know anybody that's actually watched it. So I don't know how it did. But I always thought it looked really good too. Speedfire writes, not seen Lucifer, but when you mention Tom Ellis, I keep thinking of the great British sitcom called Miranda. It's so funny. Also, Tom Holland was in the stage show Billy Elliot, not the movie. Oh, the movie was Jamie Bell. Wait a minute. Are you sure about that? Hold a second. Let me just bring this up here again. Tom Holland, IMDb. He's listed in the movie version. Oh no, he's listed in Billy Elliot Live. So you're right. It was the stage show. It was Jamie Bell that was in the. There you go. This is one of the things I love about the film fan community. I learn stuff from you guys every day. Thank you for that. That's really cool. I just always had it in my head that it was him in Billy Elliot. Thank you for that. This is one of the great things that we got this community here, guys. This is the best thing about the collective of the fans doing it. So thank you so much for that, man. I appreciate that. All right. Insta Patriot writes, correction, a Rambo marathon at the movies? Yeah, I just don't see there being people going out to buy tickets for it. So I don't think they would do it. I don't think that would work at all. Sujith writes, the streaming service is legal. It's called Hotstar. It's from the Star Network in Asia. Again, Marvel licensed themselves to that? Again, I don't live there, so I don't know. It just sounds a little fishy to me, but if that's what it is, that's a pretty damn good service. Actually writes, Designated Survivor Season 3 released on Netflix today. Oh, really? Okay, so it's actually here already. Good to know. All right, I'm going to have to go and check that out, actually. All right, FM Sorcerer, and this is our final question of the day, guys. Comes to us from FM Sorcerer, who writes, have you watched The Society on Netflix? No, I haven't. If not, I highly recommend. It's amazing. So many plot points and a ton of potential in future seasons. What is The Society? I've not even heard of that. Hold on a second. The Society on Netflix. Yeah, I don't recognize any of the images or graphics or anything. Again, I don't watch a lot of TV compared to some people. And I have a backlog of things that people are telling me to see, but I'll put this one on my watch list. I'll put The Society. Okay, I'll keep an eye open for that, Sorcerer. Thank you for the recommendation. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show, and that'll wrap up another week of shows. Thank you guys so much for being here and being a part of this. Don't forget, we're going to do open mic this weekend, but also we're going to do open mic on Sunday, but also later in the afternoon on Sunday, we are going to do a X-Men Dark Phoenix spoiler discussion. I don't think a lot of you are seeing it this weekend, but I just got some things I want to talk about this movie openly. So we're going to do that. Make sure you keep your eyes open for that. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here today. Don't forget, we'll be back again Monday. Me, Robert Meyer Burnett, and fact checker Jonathan's going to come into the studio as well. It'll be cool to have him on the show, and we hope to see you there as well. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.